Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing okay. I'm going to read through, I believe, pretty much the full article here. There is a link in the description. And it's a little bit different to anything that I've read through before, but it's absolutely horrendous. It's very gruesome. The two scumbags that you see in front of you are the mother, Sandra Krakovich, and the grandmother, Elizabeth Krakovich. They've both been charged with murder following the death of a 9-year-old girl who died with an enormous hair lice infestation. So we'll see the details in a moment, but this is serious. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I can perhaps see that some people may not feel that a hair lice infestation is that significant. Seems kind of trivial in some sense. A lot of children have hair lice infestations. In fact, two other siblings of the 9-year-old girl also have severe hair lice infestations. But this is beyond a normal level, and essentially it went untreated. As such, it worsened. And if I'm understanding correctly, and we will look through the details, but if I'm understanding correctly, a hair lice infestation can lead to anemia, being anemic, and indeed, the 9-year-old girl died due to anemia. I'm quite sure. We'll double check that in a moment. Died to anemia, and which was effectively due to the untreated lice infestation. So the untreated lice infestation was a contributing factor in regards to the anemia. That's how she died, and we'll see in a moment. But after the child was pronounced, officials said that a large amount of bugs began to cover her face. I mean, it's something, forgive me, it's something out of a movie. It reminds me of The Scorpion King, if you remember those movies. Oh, sorry, not The Scorpion King, The Mummy, where you have those beetles or whatever they were that would just, oh, I don't know, man, it's almost unreal. So I'm going to read through the details here. Two scumbags in Arizona are facing felony charges in connection with the horrific death of a 9-year-old girl who died from symptoms connected to an untreated hair lice infestation. Scumbag number one, the mother, Sandra Krakovich, 38 years of age, and the scumbag number two, the grandmother, Elizabeth Krakovich, 64. They've both been charged with first-degree murder in regards to the death of this scumbag's 9-year-old daughter. On March the 22nd, the Tucson Fire Department, so again this happened in Arizona, Tucson, the Tucson Fire Department responded to a 911 call about an unresponsive child. Upon arriving at the gated community residence, first responders discovered an unconscious 9-year-old girl. First responders attempted to perform life-saving procedures on the child. They contacted Tucson Police Department. Unfortunately, medics were not able to resuscitate the girl, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. After the child was pronounced dead, officials said large amounts of bugs began to cover her face. Upon closer inspection, it was discovered that there was an enormous amount of lice in her hair. In an interview with police, the scumbag mother reportedly said that her daughter suffered from anemia and had been ill since approximately March the 15th, with symptoms that included headache, sore throat, fever, difficulty breathing, and trouble keeping her balance. Yet this scumbag parent failed to take her to the hospital, to take her to a doctor. 1 week later, she's dead. I'm going to say, in my mind, that's negligence. One of the victim's older siblings reportedly told police that the scumbag mother had attempted to treat the lice using mouthwash. What a fucking dumbass. I mean, is that part of this? I'm going to start saying this. I'm going to go on a mini rant here. And I think that I'm going to go on this mini rant many times when I go through these articles. I think low IQ has a big part to play with these situations. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm not a parent, right? I've never had to deal with a hair lice infestation. If my child had hair lice infestation, here's what I would do. I would go to my wife. Hi, wife. The little child has got a hair lice infestation. What do we do? And my wife will say, oh, fucking hell, sort it out yourself, right? That's what she would say. And I'll go, okay, fine. Well, look, I don't know what to do. But I'll go to Google. Here you go, Google. My child's got a hair lice infestation. What do I do? And I doubt the Google results is going to say use mouthwash. The Google results will say get this product, get that product. If it's severe, if there are these side effects, if your child is suffering headaches, sore throats, fevers, having difficulty breathing, having difficulty keeping their balance, go to the doctor. That's what Google's going to say. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go, okay, fine. Well, look, let's get that product and let's clean the child's hair, treat the child's hair. And if it's that bad, shave the hair off. If it's that bad, take the child to the doctors, or indeed call up the medical centre. Hi doctor, hi nurse. My child is suffering a severe hair lice infestation. What do I do? I don't want to necessarily bring the child down to your premises and risk other people getting infested. So if you can tell me what to do, I'll go away and do it. I'll take the hour or 2 or 3 or 4 that's required to alleviate my child's suffering. Seemingly that's too much for these two scumbags. And I'm starting to think, I'm starting to conclude that I think low IQ has a lot to do with this. It's not just evilness. It's low IQ. It has to be a factor. These people can't get to grips with doing the right thing. All it would have taken is a little bit of fucking effort. Probably a $20 bottle of this ointment or that. $10. You know, not a great expense. To alleviate your daughter's suffering. Which, unbeknownst to yourself, would have actually, or likely, potentially, speculatively, saved her life. But that's too much trouble for this fucking... I mean, I can call her an evil scumbag. I'm going to have to call her a low IQ. Dumb as rocks. Evil scumbag. Text messages recovered from both of the women's phones reportedly showed that they chose not to seek medical treatment for the child's symptoms. So I'm not going to go through the full details within the article that discusses that. It does outline a little bit of back and forth between the mother and the grandmother in regards to text messages. But the text messages do show that both the mother and the grandmother were aware of the severity of the infestation in the 9-year-old girl's hair and the consequences that could potentially lead to, meaning that they were seemingly both aware that it could lead to her death. The mother's boyfriend also realized how severe the 9-year-old girl's lice infestation was, as well as her failing health. So the grandmother, seemingly, and also the mother's boyfriend, intervened to an extent. They expressed their concern. That's something, but it's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. They didn't intervene adequately. If you intervene a little bit, but not adequately, then your level of intervention is basically worthless. I'm going to throw in a couple of things here. I am a little bit concerned as to why there's no mention in regards to any charges laid against the mother's boyfriend. Maybe I'm out of order, out of pocket for mentioning that, but seemingly the boyfriend was aware of the neglect that the 9-year-old and potentially the other two siblings were facing, and seemingly, you know, my speculation, my interpretation of the details that are within this article, which of course are by no means complete, but my understanding would be that the boyfriend didn't do enough. He would have been, I'm suspecting that he would have been in a position to have contacted CPS, Child Protective Services, that he could have contacted the authorities, that he could have done more, that he could have picked the girl up, put her in a car and driven her to hospital. Sure, that would have been a bold course of action. Sure, I get that. But sometimes in life, that's what we have to do. So I'm a little bit perturbed that the boyfriend doesn't seem to be facing charges. Maybe that will change. But certainly this aspect of this part of the article, this section, is stating that both the mother and the grandmother were fully aware of the danger that the 9-year-old girl was in. And despite the grandmother, I'm not going to say demanding, I have to say requesting that the mother took action, and that the mother called the hospital and such, took the girl to hospital. Despite the grandmother requesting that, it didn't happen. So the grandmother threatened to call 911 for her granddaughter, but she never did. So I'm going to go on another little mini rant here for a little bit. I'm going to use the term enabling again, or allowing. And you know what the term enabling means. I don't need to tell you that. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know any more about the term than you do. But this is something that, I think enabling happens left, right, and center in many aspects of life. We're all likely guilty of enabling and turning a blind eye in one sense or another, to one degree or another, in many, many different circumstances. I would say it's kind of a part of life. And we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to be absolute martyrs. We can't fight every battle. Having said that, we do need to be stronger within ourselves, within our families, within our communities, within our society. We do need to stand up against those that commit bad behavior. Okay, if they're doing something ever so minorly naughty, right, fine, do whatever, turn a blind eye, whatever. But if they're doing things that have a significant impact on people's health, people's welfare, people's safe being, is that the right term? On people's lives, then enabling is not acceptable. And I applaud the state of Arizona in this regard for posing charges against the grandmother. As far as I can see, the grandmother was an enabler. The grandmother is not, as far as I understand, the guardian of the child concerned. So she would look after the child when the mother, the scumbag mother, would go to work. So she was certainly involved in the upbringing of the 9-year-old girl, but she wasn't the guardian. I'm going to say that she did fail. The grandmother did fail to take action herself, to treat the hair lice infestation herself, or to take the girl to hospital or such. So she did fail, but as far as I can see, the grandmother mostly acted as an enabler. That would be my take on it. And this is a horrific example of how folly and how dangerous, how reckless it can be to be an enabler. So I fully support Arizona State's prosecution of the grandmother. And I'm going to say, in my understanding, they're prosecuting her because she's been an enabler. Her turning a blind eye, her not calling the police, her not being proactive and treating the hair lice infestation herself, the grandmother not contacting CPS, her grandmother not taking the girl to hospital or to a doctor, does leave her, in my mind, responsible. If not as much, and if not as fully responsible as the mother is, certainly responsible to a fair extent. So I've gone on a bit of a ramble here, but kind of the point that I'm trying to make is that, look, we do witness enabling in our families, in our friend groups, in our workplace. We witness it and we can be party to it. And we have to stop that. The world's never going to be perfect. Humans are never going to be perfect. But we do need to err on the side of not enabling. If we see bad behavior, we need to stamp it out or attempt to stamp it out. And we need to allow others to attempt to stamp it out. So what I mean by that is, if your work colleague, for example, if you have two work colleagues and one's being an arsehole to another for whatever reason, and somebody else tries to stamp that out, someone says, hey buddy, you shouldn't be doing that, you're in the wrong for this reason, that reason, then your role ought to be in supporting the person that's trying to stand up to the enabler. You know, if you're not going to do it yourself, if you're not going to be directly confrontational, then the least others can do is to back up those that are willing to be confrontational. On a side note, and I know I've gone on yet another massive rant here, didn't mean to, but on a side note, I've been extremely confrontational in real life, in my own little world, a number of times. I've called out people's bad behavior in real life, and I've not been supported for doing so. I've not had the backing of others. And when you call people out for bad behavior of various kinds, they don't, the person that you're calling out doesn't react well to that. They don't like it. They lash back. So if you're going to be doing the right thing and calling people out for their bad behavior and trying to stop bad behavior, to not enable it, it would be kind of nice to receive the support of others, be that your co-workers, your family members, members of the community, your neighbours, whatever it happens to be, the police even. And without that support, and I never got any support, I got backlash from those that I would challenge, but I never got any support from anybody else. And with that, at a certain point, I gave up. I stopped challenging people. I stopped confronting people that are doing bad things. I stopped because it was too damaging to me and nobody gave a fuck. So I stopped. It's not entirely true. I find it hard to stop. I have to really fucking dig deep to not confront people. But by the by, if I was a robot, if I was sensible, then I would stop. In any case, back to the article. It tells us here that they were both arrested, the mother and the grandmother were arrested in March. They were initially charged with felony child abuse stemming from their treatment of the deceased child's siblings, aged 11 and 13. So the siblings also suffered from severe lice infestations. Both of those two siblings have been placed in the custody of other family members. So we do hope and pray for those siblings. We hope that they get all of the support that they require, emotionally, psychologically. They've lost their daughter. They've lost their sister. Their 9-year-old sister died in an absolutely horrific way, and they themselves were extremely mistreated. They themselves were at extreme danger, given that they also had severe lice infestations. The medical examiner conducted an autopsy, and they did determine that the little girl's cause of death was neglect. She died from anemia from untreated lice infestation, with malnutrition as a contributing factor. The child had fluid build up in her lung tissue, pale skin and organs, liver necrosis, and an iron deficiency. So she was, I mean, I believe these are symptoms of severe anemia, I believe. Liver necrosis, that is an organ dying. That is an organ rotting within your own body, if I understand correctly. From a 9-year-old girl. This is a 9-year-old girl in the United States, in Arizona. You know, what's my point there? I'm pointing out she's not a 9-year-old girl that was growing up in, forgive me, in Ethiopia during times of drought and famine. No. This is a 9-year-old girl who has been born and raised in the United States of America, a country which has ample resources to feed and maintain healthiness for all of your children. And she suffered liver necrosis, the failing of her liver dying and rotting within her own body. This is another very disturbing aspect. The mother is currently being held at a detention center on a $55,000 bond. Fuck you, Arizona. I praised you earlier for for charging the grandmother, despite her not being a direct guardian. But I'm not happy with the mother's boyfriend not having any charges, if that is the case. I don't know the full details there. Maybe it's completely inappropriate for the mother's boyfriend to face charges, but I would think that there could be ample reason for him to face charges. So I'm not happy about that. But fuck you, Arizona, for having a $55,000 bond. Fuck you. She can pay what? 10% of that, $5,500 to get out. Is that what you want? You want to allow this woman back on the streets? You want to show your respect to the deceased 9-year-old girl by saying her life is only worth a few $1,000s? Is that what your message is? Is that the message you want to portray to the community, to the state of Arizona? That if you are responsible for the death of your child due to negligence, pay a few $1,000s and you'll be back on the streets. Is that the right messaging, Arizona? No, it fucking isn't, you bunch of fucking assholes. I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. If I've done a decent enough job in introducing you to this topic, covering it, sharing my thoughts, if I've done a decent enough job in this video and in others on my channel, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. I do accept donations. Haven't received one yet though, but I do accept donations. If you'd like to, that would be very much warmly received. And I'm going to try to do live streams at some point. I don't know, I keep hesitating. Anyway, I'm going to thank you for your time. So I'll make a couple more videos today, and I'll make another bunch tomorrow probably. Thank you.